Hello everyone from Joyex channel. Today I will give you 10 information about asteroid mining. Don't forget to subscribe to Joyex channel to support me before starting the video. Let's start the video now. 10. It could solve climate change. At this point, it sounds like all doom and gloom. Countries are selfishly enriching themselves at the expense of others, and the possibility of all-out warfare appears to be escalating, but don't worry. Every cloud has a silver lining. In the long term, the issues surrounding asteroid mining could solve the problem of climate change on Earth, which would affect every nation. We could use new and better space technologies on our own planet. This has already happened with other space technologies, GPS, for example. Remember when we mentioned earlier the splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen to produce fuel? If this process was used heavily in space, more research money would be invested in it, the process would become more efficient, and costs would be reduced. This would allow us to produce hydrogen fuel cell cars at a price where they become mainstream. 9. Countries are making their own laws. As so few nations signed the more recent 1979 Moon Agreement, countries are starting to create their own laws to govern how their citizens can explore and use resources in space. This is what Donald Trump did with his executive order on April 6, 2020. However, Luxembourg had already taken things even further. Their July 20, 2017, law on the exploration and use of space resources states that Luxembourg companies, or European companies with registered offices in Luxembourg, may take ownership of their extracted space resources after the Luxembourg government authorizes them to do so. Although it is not certain, this may offer a way for companies in other European countries to skirt more restrictive laws in their home nations. In a sense, Luxembourg may become to asteroid mining what Switzerland is to international banking. 8. Problems with international law. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty, which was signed by the US, the UK, and the Soviet Union, includes the principle that outer space is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty. The 1979 Moon Agreement, which deals with activities specifically on the Moon and other celestial bodies, has only 5 nations signed up. They don't include the US or Russia. The Outer Space Treaty makes mention of nations being responsible for non-governmental organizations, but we know from experience that this isn't the case. For example, when they hire private security firms in war zones, governments won't always take responsibility in this way. This could create a scenario where nations hire private contractors to do their work in space and then act ignorant if anything happens. Sounds like a movie plot for sure. 7. It's already straining international relations. The classic US versus Russia space race punch up, just like the race to land a man on the moon. The race is still to the moon. This time, however, there is no communism, just plenty of Putin. Russian space agency Roscosmos issued a statement, saying in part, attempts to expropriate outer space and aggressive plans to actually seize territories of other planets hardly set the country's fruitful cooperation. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called it simply unacceptable. Space is one of the few issues on which the two countries cooperate while at odds over the invasion of Ukraine and accusations of Russian meddling in US elections. Russia refers to UN law when describing space as a common ground for humanity. However, the laws are not as clear-cut as Russia makes them out to be. 6. It will change the economy. The De Beers Corporation once had a monopoly on diamonds that allowed them to control the market. It was a way to keep prices high and see their profits soar. Now imagine if you brought $1 quintillion worth of diamonds back to Earth. Supply would be much higher than demand, and the value of diamonds would plummet. McDonald's could give them away in Happy Meals and not lose money. This is wonderful news for us consumers. However, this isn't great for businesses and countries that heavily depend on these materials for economic success. The African continent, which has 30% of the Earth's mineral resources, has huge industries in cobalt, gold, and platinum. 6. The ultimate effect of space mining on such industries is hard to calculate. It depends on the costs of mining asteroids and transporting these minerals to Earth. Maybe the better markets for asteroid miners will be in space. However, if space mining introduces more competitors to Earth-bound industries, it would force mineral-producing countries to change their economies overnight. Many countries may not be able to afford a space program to find new resources. This could also strain international relations. Then again, if prices fall too far, it probably won't be profitable for asteroid miners to sell their products on Earth. It's too early to tell how this will work out on Earth. But asteroid miners should have an advantage when selling in space unless their Earthbound counterparts find an effective way to compete. It seems like a complicated mess, but someone will figure out how to turn a profit eventually. 5. The market values are insane. Distances in space are measured in numbers that the human brain can't really comprehend and put into perspective. They're so large that the distance to an object outside our solar system is computed in light years to keep it manageable. A light year measures how far light travels in 1 year, which is approximately 9.46 trillion kilometers within our solar system. Distances are measured in astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit is the average distance from the Earth to the Sun, which is approximately 150 million kilometers. That's a smaller unit but still hard to comprehend. Now try to imagine $1 quintillion. We'll abbreviate quintillion as QT. That's 1 million trillions, which is enough money to buy the entire world economy and not even make a dent in your net worth. Messalina, the cheapest large mineable asteroid, has been valued at a measly $1.07 quartz. The most expensive is Davida at $26.99 quartz. That doesn't include all the smaller mineable asteroids outside the top 50, whose total number of zeros would most likely take us over the word limit for this section. 4. It would lead to us colonizing the solar system. The asteroids dragged closer to Earth would be processed in space, on the Moon, or on other planets. This would allow these resources to be refined before they were returned to Earth. More importantly, they could be used to build new colonies and sustain existing ones. The industries surrounding asteroid mining would create the first permanent human populations outside Earth. Rick Tumlinson, chairman of Deep Space Industries, sums it up: "We will only be visitors in space until we learn how to live off the land there." Microgravity Foundry has developed heavy-duty 3D printers that can function in zero gravity. These can be used to build communication devices, solar panel power stations, and, as more resources are harvested, whole colonies. 3. New mining methods and equipment. The equipment and techniques that we have developed to mine on Earth won't work when dealing with moving objects in a low-gravity environment. Depending on their composition, they are either very delicate or very hard to mine. The delicate asteroids are known as C-type carbonaceous chondrite, which have high water concentrations. They could be mined with a swarm of bots with barbed feet. Once latched, the bots would extract water and any other minerals and then return to base. These asteroids are so delicate that the bots wouldn't even need to drill but simply scrape along the surface. The asteroids that are hard to mine are known as M-type metallic. They present a bigger challenge because they are essentially hunks of solid flying metal. It may be simpler to magnetically drag them closer to Earth for processing. 2. Water is the most valuable resource. It sounds odd, doesn't it? You're around enough rare metals to crush the Earth, yet the one that prospectors are most eager to find is water. Well, water does fuel life. However, they're not looking for life but rather fuel. When broken down into its basic components, water is hydrogen and oxygen. This separation can be achieved via an electrical catalyst with onboard or external equipment. Once broken down, the components of water can be repurposed as electrical energy to support devices such as life support systems and fuel cells. If left as water, it can be a refreshing beverage. NASA plans to set up depots in space. They would extract water from nearby sources, carry out the catalyst process, and then siphon it to the docked craft. Essentially, they would be petrol stations in space. 1. Huge amount of resources. We live in a world of electronic gadgets, mass global transport, and a growing population that desires such things. Gold, platinum, nickel, iron. You name it, and it's probably in your pocket or parked in your driveway right now. These resources are finite on Earth, and we're going through them faster with every technological advancement. However, the same resources are almost limitless in space. Let's take the example of platinum. This metal is used in things such as cardiac pacemakers and as a catalyst for turning crude oil into something we can use in fuel and manufacturing. Platinum is considered rare on Earth. However, the asteroid belt in our solar system alone contains 1 billion times more platinum than is found here on Earth, and that's not even including other resources.